Good morning and Assalamu alaikum. You are tuned into Inspire FM 105.1 FM. It's Friday, 12th of July, and the time has now just gone 10 o'clock. Welcome to Mother's Planet, a show where there is always something to talk about in a productive and beneficial way. I'm your host, Neelum, and joining me on the show this morning is my guest, Imrana, who I will introduce shortly. She's just on her way to come and join me in the studio. I guess it's one of those Fridays where everyone is trying to get everything done as fast as possible. I'm feeling a bit wobbly this morning because my younger son has gone to school for an overnight camp stay at the school premises. So he's not going off anywhere, but he's staying over at the school. And this is his first official time where he's not going to be with the family and myself. He hugged everyone goodbye this morning, and he's quite a loud character in the house, so he sort of brings a bit of light and noise to the house. So it's going to be a bit strange and a bit quiet without him. But he hugged everybody goodbye, and was really excited. And we got to school, and I gave him his bag, and I just stopped to ask the teacher a couple of questions, and he'd zoomed off. So I didn't get my hug. So I feel a bit lost this morning because I didn't actually get my hug this morning. So I'm feeling a bit wobbly. When you just have those moments of, oh, damn, if only I just stopped talking to the teacher and turned around and hugged him. But he was in such a rush and he was so excited. So I know he'll have fun. But yeah, it's just feeling a bit strange not having said my goodbye. I think I would have cried, so it's probably good that he didn't actually hug me. So yes, listeners, as I said, I have Sister Imrana joining me on the show this morning. Now, many of you may be familiar with her voice and even her name. And if you haven't heard of Imrana, where have you been? Because, mashallah, Imrana is quite well known to the community, contributing quite a lot towards the community with projects. And I will get her to formally introduce herself a little later in the show. And I'm not sure if Imrana's here at the moment or if she has logged on or joined with me. Imrana, assalamu alaikum, how are you?
Walaikum salam. I'm really well, Neelum. Thank you so much.
Oh, good. And how's your week been?
Alhamdulillah, it's been good. I think just gearing kind of towards the summer holidays. So I work for the University of Hertfordshire. I do some of the outreach work. So a lot of our work is with schools. So it's kind of nice, I guess, to kind of wind down and look forward to the summer. So yeah.
Yeah, that's quite nice. But it's a bit of a bizarre summer we're having because we've got no heat.
Yes, that's a good point. I know you think we'd be used to it by now, but yes, it's no, the heat definitely isn't getting to us at the moment.
Oh, I know. I don't know if you heard the bit about my son going off to camping, and I'm hoping it doesn't rain because they are going to stick on the grounds outside. But if the weather doesn't, if it rains, like heavily rains, then they'll have to move it all into the hall, which is a bit boring and it can get quite chaotic. It takes away the whole camping experience. So I think they said if it drizzles, they'll still ride it out, which I hope they do because that's camping in its real form. Then that's how it should be done, where you are sort of fighting a little bit of the. But yeah, it's just strange because he kept checking the weather forecast on the internet. He kept checking, saying, do you think it's going to rain? Do I need to take extra jackets? I said, look, just take everything. Honestly, and I think their kit list, when they got given it, it was shorts, sun hat, T-shirt, hat, woolly gloves. And I thought, yeah, they're just preparing for everything, really.
Yeah.
I think the school were preparing for everything. So yeah, it's been a bit of a crazy week as well for myself, Imrana. I don't know how it works for secondary, and I'm not sure if both your daughters are they both in high school now?
Yes, they are both in high school. That's right.
So you don't have to do sports day?
No, I don't. But I have to say, I'm almost disappointed because I actually really used to enjoy seeing my daughters kind of participate and stuff. And I think that there's a transition period for when your children go to secondary because there's maybe less that kind of contact, but But yeah, have you been to your sports
Yes,
day?
we had
Right.
sports day this week, and it was on Wednesday, and
Mm,
the forecast from the whole week, Wednesday was meant to be the best day that we have. And I think because last year they did sports day in the afternoon and it was in the peak heat, that the kids were
mm,
really tired, parents were really tired, that they decided to do sports day in the morning. And we had rain, wind,
oh,
and I had not prepared. I came in my summer outfit, and I
mm,
got caught in the rain. I had my youngest daughter with me and my eldest with me, and we just stood there, and they carried it on. They hats off to the school. They carried on doing the sports activities. I
mm,
left as soon as they did the parent
mm.
race. I was like,
Oh, right.
I call to go now. So I left. I didn't stick around for the parent race.
Mm,
Because I was last year, I had the excuse of coming in flip flops. I had my sandals.
uh,
I can't do anything.
okay.
I haven't got that. And this time, I'd actually come in trainers, and I thought, no, I'm going to get
Okay.
forced into doing it. So no, I ran.
Yeah.
I went away as soon as I could. So yeah, we did have sports day, but it wasn't in the sun. It was
Mm,
wet and cold. I got home and I had to get changed because we were just so wet. It was a bit
yeah.
difficult. So yeah, I missed that. But I am looking forward to the summer break because yeah, I think we're looking forward to having a bit more pajama days and just staying
Mm,
home and not running around doing the school runs and just having. I mean, I think the last couple of weeks, I mean, the schools try to make it exciting for the children. They're trying to
mm,
do all these activities and trips and everything, but it just means that I have to be super organized from my side because I've got two in high school, two in primary school, and one in college. So I have to be,
mm,
my diary is full. I don't know
yeah.
what's going on and what I have to check. And they all have different email systems. So
Mm,
I'm having to check on all the inboxes to make sure I'm up to date with everything. So it's a bit crazy. Now, listeners, we are live on air, reaching out to all our listeners in Luton and surrounding areas through the airwaves at Inspire FM 105.1 FM. You can also connect to the show via TuneIn on the Inspire FM webpage. The show should be airing as an audio live on the Inspire FM Facebook page, where you must give the show a thumbs up and also can leave any comments around today's topic. I am, as always, taking in text or WhatsApp messages on the studio number 0779 481 822. So if you have any views and comments around today's topic, please do share it with me on that number. Now, in today's show, my guest and I will be discussing raising teen girls. A challenging but rewarding experience for us mothers. And so I would love to hear those tuned in with us this morning, your views on today's discussion, and how you've managed to navigate through the teen years with your children, or if you are going through it right now, what challenges are you finding? But before I do start my questions and uh, I think I put Imrana on the hot seat here. I guess, Imrana, it'd be really nice if I could just get you to introduce yourself to the listeners, please.
Yeah, of course. So I am a Luton-based creative producer. That basically means I work a lot with artists and arts organisations to do various community-based projects. I also, like I mentioned earlier, work for the University of Hertfordshire, and particularly it's called the Hertfordshire Cultural Education Partnership. So it's working with local stakeholders and schools, and the idea is just to provide better access for young people when it comes to arts and culture. Um, and I guess the third, last but not least, of course, is I host the book club show on Inspire FM on Tuesday mornings.
Yes, so your voice is very familiar to many of the Inspire FM listeners. And Imrana, you have two daughters, so they're both in high school. I didn't realize they were both in high school. So can I just know what year groups they're in?
Yeah, so I have one daughter in year 7 and one in year 9. So yeah, it's been, I think, interesting now that they're both at high school, and just naturally being 2 years apart, it's quite interesting. I guess there's certain things I'm going through all at the same time, but despite that, as all parents and carers will know, each child is very unique and different, which means it presents its own rewarding challenges. I think it might be the best way to put it.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and yes, every child is different. My eldest now, mashallah, is 17, going to be 18 next year. I'm
Mm.
still trying to come to terms with that. We went a couple of weekends ago. We were in London because they had an open day on some of the universities, and I was in a daze because I was trying to get over the fact that we're looking at universities. Where I was like, I'm still trying to get over the fact that you've left high school and we're looking at university places. It just felt so surreal that she's got to that stage of her life. So it does go really fast.
Mm.
And so as much as I know you have daughters, and so you wouldn't really be able to side me with my sons here, but boys
Mm.
are very different when it comes to raising boys because they're mad when they're young. They're
Mm.
absolute wild children. They will just do everything they can, and then they sort of hit a plateau, and then they calm down when they sort of enter the
Mm.
early teens. Whereas my daughters were really calm, really easygoing young girls. I don't know
Mm.
your daughters were, but I found them very easier. I guess it's because I
Mm.
compared to the boys. Um,
Mm.
but I'm now, as soon as like my third girl has hit the age of 10, and
Mm.
it's a total different story. She was so good up until the age of 10, and now it's like we're having loggerheads and
Mm.
disagreements, a lot of disagreements. Every time we have a discussion, it doesn't really end as a discussion. It ends very
Mm.
differently. So, yeah, I think girls, as they get older, the hormones and the imbalance of everything in life just comes to play, and they are
Mm.
hard work. So,
Mm.
how have you found it raising your girls?
Um, yeah, I mean, it's so interesting. I guess I kind of echo the thing of when we talk about time and actually how quickly time has passed. Obviously, so my eldest will be going to year 10, and I'm kind of getting grips with that. The idea that obviously, she's going to now GCSE years. She just obviously recently picked her options, and I. I'm still kind of getting over those moments of having to sit with her and have those conversations and then with my youngest in year 7, just making sure that she's kind of settled in well into year 7, and that whole transition from year 6 to year 7 is obviously quite big for them. To be honest, it's so interesting because like you mentioned, this idea of kind of obviously hormones change, and naturally, of course, it is regardless of being a boy or a girl. But I recently signed up with my daughter to a workshop with Ustada Ifit Rafiq, and she was doing a workshop specifically around the menstrual cycle. And she was talking so much about actually, even within our cycle, there are different seasons, and obviously, those are related to hormones, and actually how that kind of plays out in someone's personality. And of course, that's regardless of whether you're a woman or a girl, but obviously being a teen and going through these things it's very new. But upon that, it was just a really beautiful way of looking. Actually, yes, we have those hormonal kind of changes and imbalances, but just looking at it from a spiritual perspective, I think has really helped me as a parent, to dig deep within myself and then kind of show that empathy for my daughters. Which you're right, when you are at loggerheads, can be very very difficult. But but
And
yeah, it's
yeah,
yeah.
no, I totally agree with you. I think it's funny because I think when you have daughters, one of the first things that as a mum that worries you is when they're going to have their menstrual cycle, and it's
Mm.
when this happens, you have to have that conversation with them that there's certain things that Islamically becomes farz on them, and
Mm.
and there's they're now a woman, and um,
Mm.
socially they're going to just be different. So I had envisioned it very differently, that when my eldest daughter goes through it, I'm going to just be that cool mom that's going to have a hamper ready and do. And it did take me by surprise, because when it did happen, I just went into military mode. I just went to,
Right.
right, okay, these are the things you can and can't do, what you have to do. And when it happens, I was just
Mm.
I just did everything that I said I wouldn't do, and I felt mortified. So I said, right, okay, Allah's given me 4 daughters. Next one, I'm going to be very different. And I was a bit more empathetic, but she went through it all and like told me at the end of the day, oh, by the way, Mum, I think this has happened to me, and I was like, oh
All
my
right.
God, why did, and I was more shocked that she didn't tell me and she just went through the whole day and dealt with it. And
Mm,
so I was dealing with that shock rather than being
mm,
empathetic. So I said, oh gosh, but I did study the thick of menstruation because I thought I, as a
mm,
mum, need to know it inside out. And I was
mm,
actually so amazed to learn how culturally we were raised so differently when it came to menstruation. And I just thought, wow, I really had a different perception. I thought these were the do's and the don'ts, and actually more of it was culture rather than actually what's
mm,
islamically allowed and not allowed, and how the mosques should be built around accepting women that still on their
mm,
menstrual cycle. And I learned so much, and I'm
mm,
so glad I did it, because then I came back with a different perception, and now I can sort of educate my girls a lot better around it as well, and say
mm,
that this was something that was culturally done in those days, and I had a very wrong perception of growing up thinking that this is how it is, but actually no, it's
mm.
it's very different. So yeah, I'm glad I did that course, and I'm glad that you've signed your daughter up to it, because I think it's really important that um, they understand it better, because we
Mm.
didn't get that chance growing up. We didn't have that opportunity, and now they do. We should try and delve out into that. So, have you encountered any challenges in with how have you dealt with the challenges that you sort of? I'm sure there's.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I know. It's like, where do I start? But no, I mean, I guess it's just bouncing off what you were saying. There's definitely this idea, I think, of myself as a parent thinking, actually, what would I do differently to maybe what my parents did, and naturally, because obviously, each generation we're living in our own times. I think, you know, I mean, we might speak about this more a bit later on, but this idea of social media being a massive presence in the lives of young people. When I was younger, I think I got a mobile phone when I was like 17, and it was a very new thing then. And obviously, even though it wasn't like you didn't have a whole computer, it was literally just phone calls and text messages. Whereas now people literally have access to, everything through their mobile. That's definitely been an interesting one where, I'm having, especially my eldest, who, um, for example, all her friendship circle have a phone, and she doesn't. And, I was very adamant right from the beginning that she would only have it when she was a bit older.
Mm,
Whereas I understand that the parents have made that choice for their children, some out of necessity because they kind of need to have that communication with their children. But some, to be honest, I can tell parents have just given it because, oh, it's just the thing to do. So that's definitely challenging, trying to get my children to understand why their mum and dad have said no, whereas lots of other mums and dads are kind of fine with it. And but yeah, I think the best thing is I'm hoping I can be as open in terms of communication as possible, whatever the choices and decisions are. I don't kind of want them to feel that they don't have a say, but at the same time, explain to them there are certain boundaries, and we are looking out for them as parents. And so, yeah, I guess social media would be a big one in terms of how much access or how do they access it, and how to keep them safe. um and I get the only other one really I can think of is kind of friendships and the companions that they have, because when your children are younger, there's a certain amount of influence I guess you can have, or because you have more times to connect with other parents with the primary school, because you will see each other on the you're dropping your child to the actual classroom, or the sports days like what we spoke about earlier. Obviously that kind of diminishes in high school. So yeah, there's been times I'm like, oh, I'm not sure about this friend, but then naturally, I can't impose myself on that side of their lives, because that is for them to kind of make that choice. But I think just having that kind of overview and reminding them what a good friend is, and what it does mean to have a good companion, and using the Sunnah, the Prophet ﷺ, and then the Seerah. So yeah, I'd say those two things are quite probably big at the moment.
yeah, and I totally agree with you. I think they're the ones that you have to be careful. And I've noticed actually, and you probably would agree with me here as well. So your daughter that's going to start year 10, and your younger one that's going to go into year 8. the friendships that they have, the generation, it just seems like a huge generation gap between that set of children and the next set of children. Like my eldest daughter, the girls, I think they were very feisty in her year group, and it was just trying to, there was a lot of cat fights, and they were just feisty. But now my daughter in year 7, when she started, it was more about image and who's looking better and who got more. And even as far as like wearing the hijab, who wears their hijab the best and who's wearing it correctly. So it was a totally different, I was battling with a totally different concept here. I was like, wow, you're not catfighting. You're not, it's more to do with your physical appearance. And now my daughter, who's 10 years old and in year 5, going to go into year 6, her friends are totally different. And, I'm like, every year I'm just finding that every time I look at their friendships and their circles, it's a different battle that we're having. So, Imrana, we have had a question come through from Brother Ijaz, who is a university careers consultant, and his wife is a teaching assistant at a local primary school. And they've got 2 teenage daughters that have just completed year 11 and 13, mashallah. So, very difficult years. So, I hope your daughter does very well in her GCSEs there. And he's asked if we could offer some insights into the quality of education and the environment of Luton sixth form, college, and any summer programs that they could attend to support their Islamic and spiritual development. So I guess with Luton sixth form, it's going to be quite difficult because I've always had I've got to send them to the best colleges, and I think at the end of the day, it really does. And I don't know if you agree with me, it does depend on your child. I had a friend who put her daughter in a Harpenden college, and she was studying the core science subjects. And she did a year of her A levels there, and just found she couldn't cope. She didn't like it. She just was not settling. And then she brought her back to the only college in Luton, and put her in Luton sixth form. And she completed her final year there. She was more local to home, could walk there, could come home in her breaks. So I think she just appreciated that much more. And again, so I guess it really depends down on your child and the subjects that they do. And if you are going to put them in schools outside of Luton, if you're ready for that travel. I think for me, it was just like, if it rains, if it snows, that will hinder her travel. She will my daughter will probably not be able to go in to these colleges. I don't have the means to go and drop her off because I've got so many other school runs to do. So for me, we just had to make an executive decision and keep it local. But I don't know, Imrana, would you agree? Do you think it's down to the individual?
Yeah, no, I think I kind of 100% agree with what you're saying in terms of, allowing children to kind of really hone in on their strengths. And, in order to do that, it really does require them to ideally pick subjects that they kind of enjoy and they're good at. And I think that can make a massive difference to their educational experience. I don't think I can maybe give that much insight into sixth form, Luton sixth form itself. I mean, I'm not originally from Luton, so I haven't kind of gone through, I guess, the school system here. I did obviously teach initially in Luton in secondary school, but but obviously not up to college years. I think, to be honest, and this is a general comment of the education system as a whole, not specific to Luton. There was a phase where a lot of our children, and by our children, I mean kind of children from marginalized backgrounds, there was a time I felt that teachers had or some educators had quite low expectations, i.e. just kind of having certain perceptions of what our families were like or what we wanted, especially for our teenage daughters. And I think that sometimes played into how much they would encourage our children, or to what to aspire to, if that makes sense. I think that has changed. I think teachers are recognizing actually all children are the same, regardless of their kind of religion or race and ethnicity, and everyone deserves that kind of equity in education. So the only thing I guess I would say is just to ensure we are holding even our educators to account as parents. I think it's okay if you feel that there's some teaching that needs to be kind of improved, or there needs to be a bit more accountability, it's good to do that, because ultimately we want the best type of education for our children, and them to be able to aspire to whatever they kind of want to achieve. So I think that was just a general point that I had.
Yeah, that's brilliant, and I think that's really important there. Imrana, believe it or not, we've actually come to the first half of our show now. We are going to go over to a short commercial break. Listeners, if you have just tuned in, I have the lovely Imrana with me this morning, and we are talking about raising teen girls. So if you do have any comments or questions around today's discussion, please do message in or WhatsApp in to the studio number 07779 481 822. Brother Ijaz, I hope we helped you out there with our response regarding your daughters. But listeners, we are going over to a break. So for now, go refill that hot brew or cold brew, whatever you're having with us, and join us after a short commercial break. Assalamu alaikum.
This program will continue after the break. Continue listening to Inspire FM. Inspire FM.
Inspire 105.1 FM.
Assalamu alaikum, my name's Hina Khalid. Remember, smiling is sunnah. Keep the peace and love going. And if you want to continue to smile, listen to Inspire FM 105.1 FM.
Why do Tops Pizza deliver the top pizzas in Luton and Dunstable?
For a start, all the toppings are 100% halal, and Tops use fresh dough every day. Then there's the cheese, the highest quality available. And when it comes to food preparation, cleanliness is taken as part of our faith. So that just leaves the taste, choice, and great offers, including buy one, get one free on all medium, large, and extra large pizzas. Tops Pizzas, Wellington Street, LU1 5AA. Order online, topspizza.com, or via Just Eat. Download our app or call 01582 72 5000.
Staying safe in the summer on Inspire FM. Parents and carers should pack light, healthy meals for their children for them to avoid feeling drowsy in the summer heat.
For expert legal advice and support, talk with Luton's leading solicitors, Hannah Solicitors. We specialise in conveyancing, wills and probate, family law, immigration and personal injury, legal matters that matter to you. Our experienced legal team are here to help you through every step of the way. Call 01582 329 069. That's 01582 329 069, or click on hannahsolicitors.co.uk. Hannah Solicitors, professional advice with a tailored approach.
Biscott Pharmacy, your one-stop health and beauty pharmacy in Luton, stockist of over 8,000 health and beauty products. At Biscott Pharmacy, we offer a range of services, including health advice and repeat prescriptions for collection and delivery to your home. We also offer a Hajj and Umrah vaccination. Come in and see us and ask about our Stop Smoking service. We're open 7 days a week till late, including bank holidays. Biscott Pharmacy, 157A Biscott Road, Luton. Call 457709.
The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the most blessed nikah, marriage ceremony, is the one with the least expense spent on it.
Every day, millions of people face life-threatening challenges. War, disaster, hunger. The need for your support has never been greater. At Action for Humanity, we believe in the power of compassion. Around the globe, we provide life-saving aid and long-term support to communities in crisis. Already, you've empowered us to reach 15 million people since 2011. Visit actionforhumanity.org or call us on 0161 860 0163 today.
Oh, Hillary, I was going to use newspaper display advertising. But it costs £10 per inch.
And that's too expensive.
Oh, indeed it is. I want to sell a 10-foot ladder.
Oh, Roger, invest in an ear-catching advertising campaign on this radio station instead. It's a great way to tell people about your products and service.
For details, click on inspirefm.org, then advertise.
From the studios of Inspire FM, the time is now 10:30.
Good morning and Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to Mother's Planet. I'm your host Neelum, and joining me on the show is my guest Imrana. Now, this morning, Imrana and I have been talking about raising teens and the challenges around it. I am taking in, as I mentioned earlier, WhatsApp and text messages on the studio number 0779 481 822. Now, just before the break, Imran and I were talking about education and the challenges around that. Now, Imrana, before we go into education, because I did have a couple of questions around that, I guess one of the things when you have teenage children, regardless of them being girls or boys, is having that open communication and letting them know that this is a safe space and they can talk. How have you navigated that, or implemented that in your home to allow your girls to have that open communication with you?
So I guess it's been something I've kind of found my way through. So it's not like I might have had like this real solid idea of exactly how that would work. I think what sometimes, I mean, I'm not always successful, but I think the one thing that does really help is just ensuring I've created time where we are away kind of from the TV and we just have space where we're just talking. So it could just start off, I mean, mostly the dinner table is a great time, when we're having a meal or something, we're just asking about each other's day. And I think that just allows them, number one, a fixed routine, knowing there is a specific time in day that we're all just going to sit down and just talk. And I think that definitely helps, because it just means sometimes they might bring something up, maybe something that's happened during the day, or yeah, it could be anything. And in that moment, it gives me an idea of what's on their mind, even though they haven't explicitly said it. And then it might be just something, depending what it is, I might then take up with them separately and say, oh, you mentioned this during dinner time, and I just wanted to check in with you, and kind of then have a separate kind of one-to-one conversation. I mean, yes, I'm not always there. I think sometimes even myself, I do get distracted, but I think as a family, just having at least one time where you're just sitting together and talking, it makes such a massive difference. It's something that I know I didn't appreciate the time when I was younger. It was only maybe after I got married, but I realized actually how much I enjoyed just being able to sit at the dining table with my family and just chat. So yeah, I mean, that's one thing. I guess the second thing is just really trying to be as clued up as possible about what's going on in the world. So like you said, in terms of understanding each generation has, its own challenges, but then being very present in what's going on in terms of young people, whether, who's the most recent influencer, or, I don't know, whatever it could be, right? And then I think just opening those conversations, even though, maybe in the past with our when we were younger, certain conversations were taboo, or there was stigma attached to it. And maybe I think some of our parents' generation avoided those conversations. I've definitely intentionally taken a different approach, where actually I want to have those conversations with my children before I don't know how to put it, kind of before they just start hearing like hearsay and random facts, or what they think might be facts. Try to just get there in there early, have those conversations with them, and just say to them, look, if anything ever comes up with friends, or you see something on TV and you get a bit confused, I've spoken to you, so just feel free and then come to me and we'll have a talk about it. So alhamdulillah, up till now, I think it's working.
Good.
But, so yeah.
And I think, Imrana, you've hit the nail on the head there about keeping yourself updated with the social media platform, really just knowing what's out there. And I sort of had a shock of my life when I went back into supply work in October, and realized how much of an influence at such an early age the social media platforms have. There's YouTube followers, children as young as 8 are following, and and they're actually mimicking dance moves or gestures or things that they do, or there's abbreviated terms. I really had to get up to date with things. I thought, wow, I've fallen so behind, and when I'd come back and talk about it to my children, they're like, oh yeah, we're aware of this. And I was like, wow, you've sort of never mentioned it to me, so I thought, I need to buff myself up. I need to really know what's out there, and make sure that I'm on par with them, and I'm not falling behind. But yeah, I sort of begin to feel my age, I think, a little bit when I fall behind from what's going on out there. I'm like, wow, am I that old now? Whereas some of the things that I tell them that were like the crazy hit phase when in the 80s when I was growing up, I said in the 80s and 90s, when we were all young, this was the thing, and they really make me feel like I was growing up in the dark ages. So yeah, so I mean, how do you encourage, or do you encourage, help around the house? Do you have a chore table, or is it something that the girls are naturally inclined to do, or did you have to really instill this in them?
I guess I probably would say it needed to be instilled. I think, and that they were naturally like just would choose to sit and not. So I've kind of delegated might be the right term, as in, that there's certain things that when they're at home, I like to help. Them help me. So it could something be really simple as just dusting, doing the dusting around the house, or doing the vacuuming, or doing the steam up on the floor. Like there's certain things that when I know they haven't got a lot on in terms of schoolwork or on a particular weekend, they kind of know, okay, that there'll be that. Or sometimes, just wash the dishes, but I think it's trying to instill in them that it's okay for them. Like, I don't believe in this thing where, especially for girls, like, oh no, but this is like a homemaker job. This is your job, and this is something you have to do, because I know a lot of us, women, maybe of our generation, some of us maybe were told that when we were younger, that, oh, but you need to know this because you're going to be married, and Actually, it's more about me presenting it to them as like, this is a life skill. It's important for both boys and girls. Obviously, naturally, I only have daughters, so it's just how it is, but yeah, I think it's just presenting them to the fact that actually it's really important that everyone plays a part in the family unit. And sometimes it's really lovely because they'll say, oh, would you like help with this? And sometimes I'll say yeah or no, depending, however I'm feeling. The one thing which I haven't been able to instill, and I think it's very much myself, is actually when it comes to cooking. And it's really strange because I know it's so important for them. Actually, they're definitely old enough to kind of be doing those things, but I'm that type of person who, when I'm cooking, I just want it to be me and just kind of get on with it. So whereas mashallah, my husband's great. Like he loves baking with them, so he does a lot of the baking and little things like that. And but yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of a different person in the kitchen, so I don't know if you've got any advice for me. Like, how do I get my girls to, just kind of help with the cooking? I don't know.
I think it's trying to taking that step back, because I think a lot of the time I've had no choice, where I've got something going on and I've had to get dinner prepared, and I've not been very organized that day. So I've sort of leaned on my older daughter and said, would you mind just, I'll chop up everything. I mean, just recently, my son had a really bad case of tonsillitis, but I had to take him to A&E on Saturday. And in doing so, I'd taken out the meat the night before. So whatever my daughter's cooked, I've sort of safely let her cook, like chickpeas and potatoes, anything that's not meat related. I think she's got as far as cooking. I cook a tuna curry, and she's mastered that really well, to the extent my youngest daughter will always ask her to make it when we have it, because she says she makes it really nice. So I'm like, I'm not quite sure how to take that one, but I'm not going to get competitive here. So I think fish is as far as I'd let her. So I had taken out like lamb meat, and I was like, how am I going to get her to cook this? No, she's cooked it through, and just, so I'd written it down, and she was sort of texting me every now and then with an update, sending me pictures, and I just let her cook. And I thought I would never, if I hadn't didn't have to come where I am now, I would never have done it. I would have just, and half of me was saying to my son, can you wait an hour? Let me just do this. And then we'll go to the hospital. And she's like, Mum, just take him, go. And I came back to a really nice cooked minced curry. So she did really well. And I think it's just a case of just letting them, they're going to make mistakes. They're probably not going to be enough salt in it. And I did have to sort of flavor it up a little bit when I came home, but I didn't sort of do that in her face. I just subtly did it. But, the texture, the meat was cooked through, everything was done to the T. So I think it's just, you have to let them do it. And yeah, it's easier for dads, isn't it? My husband's the same. He's always like, just let her make it. Sarah, can you make this? Can you make that? And, he'll do it. And I'm like, oh no, I don't know if he's going to know how to do it properly, or, what if it, and he said, well, go back to our early days of our marriage, Neelum. I'm like, yeah, okay, let's not get back to that time. So yeah, so I think we just have to let them, we know that they're going to make mistakes, but they will only get better with those mistakes. So it's just standing back. I think it's something that we've always done in our marriage. We've put dinner on the table, so to sort of let someone else do that is quite difficult. But you'll enjoy it, Imrana. Once you get your daughter to start cooking and making something for the family, it will give her some sense of ownership as well, that I've made dinner today, so everyone appreciate what I've cooked, and really want to hear everyone's opinion on it as well. So
actually, I think I'll do that. For the summer holidays, I'm making that intention now. I think that's the perfect time to kind of trial it, and I'll let you know how it goes. But
yeah, do keep me posted on that. Yeah, I think you'll actually stop cooking. You'll actually say it's okay. I can, one less thing for me to do. So, so the other thing I wanted to ask Imrana is around interest and hobbies, because I don't know about yourself. I homeschooled my eldest, so for years 7 and 8, I sort of instilled her interest in hobbies, but I gave her like a bank of things to pick from and said, look, this is all the things that we've got access to, and I can get you into clubs and what have you. What do you find interesting? And she sort of delved into it, and a lot of the things that weren't even there, she's like, Mum, actually I've got an interest. She wanted to learn Latin, so I was like, oh, okay, fine. So she just went off and did that on her own, off her own back. I found it very difficult with my daughter, who's in year 7 now, to try and get her equally as interested in these bank of hobbies that I had. So I really struggled to try and get her to find something that she's interested in, or when we were young, hobbies were we just did it. And I find it really bizarre that we have to sort of train them to like a hobby and get good at something, because we would just do it, and so yeah. How have you found that?
Yeah, it's so interesting. I think you're right, because I, from a young age, there was 2 things I think I was really interested in, was kind of reading and sports. And I don't know, maybe my parents would have a different perspective on it, but yeah, I kind of felt it's just something I fell into and I enjoyed, and just kind of really went with it. And I know that reading, obviously naturally, there's a reason I host the book club show on a Tuesday, because I love reading. I love talking to people about books. I love hopefully just steering people towards literature and the worlds that books can open up to people. So I know that was such a massive thing, but it was very interesting because I realized it wasn't something that was coming naturally to my children. Yes, obviously through school they kind of set these books and you've got to read the books and then sign their planners and stuff, but actually on my part I felt like it took quite a lot of insistence. It was really saying, okay, at bedtime, 15 minutes bedtime, pick a book and read. Or I used to make an active choice of taking to the library, and it my youngest picked up reading actually much quicker. She just naturally fell into the love of books. She loves writing, she loves writing stories, and I'm doing as much as I can to kind of support her. A couple of times I've entered her story into a competition. I think about 3 years ago, was it? She was shortlisted for the Young Muslim Writers Award. So I think it's just thinking, actually, what, I can see this is something you're really interested in, you're good at. So kind of just encouraging that. My eldest, on the other hand, I would say she's only just, maybe in the past few months, found a particular genre of book she really enjoys. And I'm so glad, because I love I love seeing my children read books, and there's something we can talk about and we can kind of discuss, and that's great. I guess other than that, though, because I like sports myself, I remember trying to push my children into it, especially my eldest. I could tell she was a natural. She was very natural at. She definitely had a gift. So in primary school, she was really good at football. But then something happened, like this transition into secondary school, and again, obviously, I don't want to speak on my daughter's behalf, but I definitely feel the time when it came to start wearing hijab and how maybe she fell, and that kind of played a part in how her interests change as well. But I mean, just to give an example, the most recent thing I've done is I signed myself and my daughter up to archery, which is being led by Organisation Culture and Character, which is OCC. Some people might know it. So they do separate ones for men and women and for girls. And it's been amazing. Like, it's so nice to be able to share a hobby with, I can call it a hobby, I guess. Obviously, it's completely new to us, but we're both enjoying it and it's really lovely. So I think sometimes it's just about being persistent in certain things which are going to benefit them, and with persistence, hopefully that it'll kind of stick. Or just trying new things together.
Yeah. And I think that's actually quite nice, Imrana. And I think I've got to do something like that. I keep looking at the ladies only aquafit classes, and I'm like, maybe, because my girls like swimming, and I'm like, maybe I could sort of, and I think the nice thing that you're doing is you're not just saying this is your hobby, go off and do it. You're actually engaging with them. And I think that's really important, to be able to have that opportunity to actually go and do it with them and say that this is our thing, this is something that we're doing. Because then again, when it comes to things like friendship challenges, if you know that you're doing something with your mum, oh no, this is something that I've got with my mum, or this is something I've got going with my sisters. It's quite hard because that's, I've got 4 daughters, and I keep instilling the importance of friendship within them, and you don't need to rely on external. It's nice to have a social network, and it's nice to have friends outside, but both you and I are not Luton born and bred. We've come from another town to here, so we've had to sort of start from scratch, building our friendships, building our, status, our grounds, everything. So I've said to my daughters that, I've had to leave my friends, and yes, I'm still in touch with them, but I don't see them. I don't rely on them. I've got on where I am. And coming from another town to another town, I think it's made me a bit more resilient. I don't need to rely on people. And I find that very hard to try and, I think they're young, but it's very hard to instill that in. Are you finding that a challenge?
I'm only just reflecting now on like what you've said, and it's true. I think sometimes I forget the fact that I had to completely start from scratch, moving to a different place, and I think you're right. I definitely, after marriage, my relationship with my sisters definitely kind of exponentially grew stronger. So I think it's so true. I do little things with them, or I say things to them like, for example, they walk to school together, and just reminding them actually that's really important. Like, and I've made it very clear to them that it's quite important for me as their mum to kind of see that they're together, they're sharing that time, and they've got each other for that, I guess, safety, comfort, whatever it is, But I don't know. I guess it's really interesting because sometimes, they quite like cats and dogs, but of course everyone does, right? We've all done it with our siblings. But no, I think you're right. I think there's definitely something about instilling that quality of friendship between them, which I think is really important. And it's something nice to see. But no, I mean, I completely agree with everything you said.
And you mentioned earlier about the hijab and putting the hijab on. Obviously, then your external interests and things that you normally would have engaged in have changed, and your whole perception of life changes. How was? I mean, do both your daughters wear the hijab, or is it just the eldest?
No, they both do. Yeah.
Wow, mashallah. So, talk to me about that. Was it something that they came to a conclusion to themselves, or was it something that you were in the background sort of saying, I'm your mom and I wear the hijab? How was that?
Well, I mean, I guess it ties a little bit into what you're saying about that open communication. I was very open with them in the sense that I didn't start wearing hijab until I was much older. I think I was probably about 18. And again, that's various reasons. Our family unit is someone, it was a type that we kind of, maybe initially things were more cultural, than religious, if I can use that term. Alhamdulillah, my parents made a decision to take us to Umrah while we were still quite young, and I think I was 16, and that really transformed my life in terms of how I was seeing actually my connection to Allah and my connection to Islam. And then that kind of desire to wear hijab, I mean, it still took a couple of years, but it was definitely there. So I shared all of that with my girls. Like I said, look, I'm not going to pressure you. I'm not going to say to you, you have to, but I did explain to them, look, from a certain Islamic perspective, it's a requirement. And I know, some people have even a different opinion on that, but my, I hold the belief that, for women, hijab is a really kind of a big article of faith. That doesn't mean to say women who don't wear the hijab that, there's no judgment. That's absolutely fine. But yeah, so I try to be quite open with the girls. But the main thing I know is, like you were saying earlier, about this idea of self-image and how that was playing into because they were a bit reluctant initially, that all the, what my friends might think and all of these things, and just explain to them that I didn't want that to be a reason for them not to wear it. And then just allowing them, saying, look, why don't you try it out? And we did that. I did that with my eldest. I said, look, just, for the summer holidays, just see how you're feeling. And yeah, I mean, there were still feelings of, I'm not sure. But alhamdulillah, now, like both, and I did the same with my youngest. And, they're watching all these hijab tutorials and different styles and what material of, what material to wear.
And I do now as well. I'm my looking.
Yes.
But apparently my mum's more trendier. My daughter's
really
to me, my nanny ma's more trendier mum, because, and my mum is like, my mum's got all these funky headbands and and so she's like, stop wearing pins and ruining your scarves, just get these elasticated things. I'm like, oh gosh, my mum knows more about the hijab than I do. So yeah, if they ever need to know how to wear the hijab, they go and talk to my mum. And my mum's constantly sending them videos like, oh, how about trying this and trying that. So it's quite nice because they've got that relationship with my mum on how to wear a hijab. But yeah, I'm very dated. I need to get a bit up to date, apparently. So I'm conscious of time, Imrana, and we could talk forever about stuff, but I really wanted to ask about the subject around makeup, because I know this is something that a lot of teenage girls, and I mean, I get shocked when I do the school run and I see year 6 girls fully make up. Have you had to battle with makeup, or how have you sort of worked your way around this, or talk to your girls about makeup?
Gosh, I completely forgot to mention that when we initially started the conversation about challenges. Yeah, I mean, that's really, really up there. That it's such a big thing. I think what I've tried to do is not to be too strict. I've tried to use a bit of the fact that, look, you're in school, you're not even meant to be wearing it. But I also realize there's lots of girls that are, and how that might make them feel. So I'm trying to have a kind of a balanced approach. I try to kind of restrict it to, really limited things, maybe a lip gloss or something here, or even in like a non-school way, like on a special occasion. I have also kind of taken advice from other mums who've got older girls, and they've kind of reassured me that, look, for a lot of them it will just be a phase, and then it kind of will, inshallah, But at the same time, I don't know. I mean, I haven't got an answer to that, other than I'm just trying to be try to be a bit gentle in that, because there is a lot of pressure on girls on the way they look. But then also, getting to understand, there's all these ideals that we have, and actually Allah loves us for our hearts and for our intentions, and that kind of reminder.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think makeup is one of those endless battles, because and I keep reminding my children. I think my youngest, who's 4, she sees me wear makeup and says, when can I wear it? And I said, not until you're married, like a mummy. And she's like, oh, okay. So she's registered that. I was like, damn, I should have used that with all of them. You're married in a month, then you can wear makeup. But yeah, she got it. She got it. The 4-year-old understands. So she's hopefully not interested in it till then. So yeah, it is one of those. And I think you're taking the right approach, because the worst you can do is say no, and then they do it behind your back, or do it when you're not aware of it. And so having that open thing of, okay, limiting to what you can wear and what you can use. So Imrana, last 50 seconds of the show, any words of advice for those parents that are tuned in this morning that are raising teen girls? Words of wisdom from yourself?
You know what? I would just say that whatever we're doing is intention to please Allah, that what we're doing will be good enough, and everything else you kind of put your trust in Allah. And yeah, just to have those intentions and just to try your best. We really can't do more than that.
Yes, absolutely, and wonderful. Thank you so much, Imrana. I have really enjoyed talking to you. It's been interesting, and I'm glad that we've got similar interests with our girls, and I can see that I'm sure many people have tuned in this morning and sort of had a sigh of relief that they're not the only parent going through it all. So thank you for your time, and inshallah we'll speak soon. But Jummah Mubarak, and have a good day.
Assalamu
alaikum salam.
Assalamu alaikum everyone, Sadiq from Muslim Senses here, and I was just on the Sister Speak show. Tune in to Inspire 105.1 FM.
Assalamu alaikum, my name is Yusuf Aslam. I am the founder and director of Amazing Magazine. I'm here today with Inspire FM 105.1. Please continue